Autofocus on any camera and with any lens is not a new concept, but I think it's finally reached a stage of maturity. If everyone is using the same cameras, the same lenses, the same mist filters, and grading with the same LUTs and film conversions, I'd say the chances of everything looking the same becomes increasingly higher. I think we've reached that point in the filmmaking space where we've become so used to a certain look that it's getting harder to stand out, and visuals are getting increasingly numbing. This is the reason why so many creators are now leaning towards budget anamorphics and cinema lenses. For the first time, these lenses are actually affordable to the masses, and the underlying motivation is grounded in the pursuit of standing out. Each lens has their own unique characteristics, flares, and means of color rendition. It's the reason why DP Greg Fraser opted for a set of rehoused vintage Soviet lenses like the HELIOS 44-2 and Jupiter series in the filming of Dune 2. Which, by the way, is hands down the best movie I've watched in the past 10 years. In their original form, these lenses are dirt cheap and easily available, but you can also grab cine-modded ones at a similar price. These budget lenses are one of the few areas where smaller creators are not excluded or constrained by money, and the only thing standing in their way is nailing focus. So DJI just announced a new version of Focus Pro. At first glance I thought, great, new focus motors, a hand grip and a new wheel fizz. That's it, right? Wrong. This system is so much more. It's a collision of two worlds, fitting for both high budget productions and solo creators. It's reliable autofocus on any lens, married with traditional focus pulling, and what you get is a winning partnership between man and machine. Now this video is sponsored by DJI, but I can honestly say that it does reflect my own opinion, and I would not say yes if I didn't believe in the product. So let's jump in. First up, we've got the Creator Combo. Here you get the LiDAR rangefinder, a grip that can attach to your rig, a motor, and a carrying case. Until now, you needed either a DJI gimbal or a hub with a transmission to utilize this feature, but now you can use it as a standalone system. The Focus Pro grip not only powers the LiDAR, but also powers the focus motors for up to 2.5 hours per charge, but you can also run it through DTAP from a V-mount battery. The grip looks similar to an RS3 grip, but it mounts directly onto your rig via NATO rails. It gives you full control over the LiDAR with a touchscreen display where you can see what the LiDAR camera sees, change focus modes, and calibrate lenses. Just like RS3, it has a nifty finger wheel on the front for manual control and a record button that connects to your camera via Bluetooth. The rangefinder itself, although it looks similar to the previous generation, has been drastically improved. The new version can focus on subjects at up to 20 meters away, with a 77% points over the previous generation, giving you much more accurate results, especially in low light where some cameras will start to fail. I used the HELIOS 44-2 extensively in this music video because I love the flares coming out of it. At one point, I almost forgot that I'm shooting with a manual vintage lens because I could simply focus on the camera movement even at f2.0. On the software side, you've got state-of-the-art AI algorithms that can easily distinguish between a variety of objects with improved tracking on humans and vehicles. Pulling focus on fast-moving cars can be intense, especially if you're driving in the car, but knowing that autofocus will take care of this is a great comfort and something I'm truly excited about for future shoots.
My roots are growing stronger. I see from underneath the tree.
When shooting multiple subjects, you can lock onto a single subject but also change to a second subject by flipping the finger wheel. DJI also collaborated with a variety of lens manufacturers by adding preloaded lens profiles to the Ronin app. If your lens is on the list, you simply set your lens to infinity and it's calibrated instantly. I used a variety of lenses ranging from the 21mm DZO Vespid, 58mm HELIOS 44-2, a 125mm DZO Vespid, and also a 35-8mm DZO Kata Ace, and the LiDAR doesn't disappoint. I was quite surprised to see the 21mm keep focus in this shot, even with the ropes in the foreground. The only thing you need to take into account is the placement of the rangefinder, since the longer lenses can quickly creep up into the LiDAR field of view, which can cause focusing issues. But I found that putting it on my top handle did the job, but it's important to dial in the right installation distance from the sensor. Now for one of my favorite items, Part of the all-in-one combo, you also get the Focus Pro hand unit, which gives you the ability to control up to 3 motors with one operator, a fully fledged fizz. The F stands for focus, I for iris, and Z for zoom. For complicated scenes where all 3 is required, you have the option to decide who controls what. For solo shooters, if you're utilizing autofocus, you can get pretty much anyone to control the iris with no focus pulling skills required. If you're using a zoom lens, you can also have someone zoom for you, especially if it's slow and controlled. But for the faster creative zooms, I personally prefer to do it myself, so you can change the finger wheel on the hand grip to zoom instead of focus. Zooming in and out at the right time can add an incredible dynamic to your shots. But the challenge with modern stills lenses is that they are not parfocal. Parfocal means the lens stays in focus throughout the entire zoom range. This is one of the features that makes a cinema zoom so expensive. And now you can have autofocus on these manual lenses and still have control over zoom. My favorite part about the hand unit is the wheel itself. It utilizes magnetic damping with tactile feedback that is customizable to your own needs. For example, you can control the stiffness. You simply hold the trigger in the front and turn the dial. Depending on how much the wheel needs to move or how sensitive the focus throw is on your lens, you can adjust it to a custom setting that works perfect for every scenario. It also has a unique feature in the AB point setting. First, you find your in point, press AB. Set your out point, press AB again. Now the magnetic damping creates a strong resistance at both these points that acts as a hard stop, but you still have the ability to force it past if you need to, but it has enough power to stop at the exact location. Here's an example. The in point is on the fence and the out point is on a player hitting the ball. Both you and the hand unit operator have the ability to switch between manual and autofocus by hitting the M button. But the Focus Pro also introduces the world's first AMF feature. In this hybrid mode, you can let the autofocus stay on a subject until your focus puller needs to take over by simply turning the wheel. The transition is seamless without any delays. The moment the wheel is turned, focus goes to manual. This means that you can get amazing results shooting wide open where the focus puller is just on standby and ready to pull at the right time. The unit feels premium and will be my go-to for future projects. The motors also received a massive upgrade. They now come in the standard 15-inch rod size, so no need for adapters. Powered by USB-C, each motor has 2 ports, so you only need to power one motor and the rest can draw power from each other. These babies are incredibly strong, and for all my productions I kept it at the lowest torque setting. But I know for sure it will be able to handle bigger, stiffer lenses. I had to tie down the zoom lens to the rails with an elastic because sometimes when it hits the hard stop, it actually lifts the lens up. This tends to happen on smaller bodies with large lenses, but a foot mount will also solve the problem. I mostly use the FX3 with an adapter, but a bigger camera with a PL mount will be more secure. Until now, I've already relied on LiDAR in certain scenarios, and I often make use of a focus puller. So why am I raving about this system? For me, it comes down to one word: integration. I'm already sold on the RS3 gimbal, and the one piece of gear I use on every production is the DJI transmission paired with the high-bright monitor. It's become the standard for all my focus pullers and is also a great director's monitor. Not only does it never cut out or lose transmission, but the display is super bright and beautiful. The transmission is easy to attach to my gimbal, and the high-bright monitor touchscreen now becomes an extension of control. The display can actually receive waveform data from the LiDAR, which can also be used by your focus puller as focus assistance. For the scenes where autofocus is simply not an option, your focus puller gets a top-down view of the scene and can use the waveform as a guide. So in essence, the LiDAR is showing you where what is in the frame, and you can decide where to focus by simply looking at the waveform. The hand unit can connect directly to the high-bright monitor that instantly lets the system talk to each other. So who is this for? If you're a solo shooter gravitating towards manual lenses but still want to utilize accurate autofocus in majority of scenarios, the Creator combo is a no-brainer. You can use the autofocus and still take over with the finger wheel when the situation requires it. If you're a working DP that relies on a focus puller, why not give your focus puller the advantage of relying on the waveform, or in some scenarios, simply give over control to a machine who has the ability to keep a wide open shot perfectly sharp without a buzz or the need for a retake. This system is the coming together of two worlds. On the one hand, you have solo filmmakers who can embrace a world of manual lenses, and in the world of high-end production, autofocus finally has a place. Not as a substitute, but as an extension to improve the workflow of focus pullers. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer. See you in the next one.